Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
What it do, football world? Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You are tuned in to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, your guy, DJ Youngs. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As always, I know you could be listening to this at any time, any place, anywhere. Thank God for technology. So I like to cover all of the greetings, salutations to everybody, all right? Hey, man, this is the part 2 to the draft special. Last episode, we were talking about AFC. Now we got to get into the NFC. And yes, it took 2 whole episodes because there's just so much to unpack here, man. I definitely don't want to undermine any of these great athletes because if we're being honest, the people that are not in the top 10 are still relevant. Think about all the undrafted free agents that are stars. Everybody else taking 3rd, 4th, 5th. Shoot, you know, we know what it's like to be way down there. The superstars remember that, and they talk about it. So I want you to know everybody that was taken late as well as taken early, so that you can, you know, be familiar. Like, hey, I remember hearing about that kid, and then watching them grow up and everything like that. That's one of the best parts of football, man. Is we get to watch everybody's transition. You get to literally watch kids get into the league and become men. You know, that whole transition is a beautiful thing to see, what they do on the field and even off the field, where they come from. It's a lot of great stories out there. Could name a lot, but I mean, name one, for example, is, you know, people that follow Cam Newton. Saw his story from Florida, him having to go to Blinn, made his way to Auburn, you know, championship, going to the Panthers, like, doing his thing, taking Super Bowl. Like, that's a journey. The charity he did in the community and stuff like that. Hey, when you get to watch that from the beginning, it feels a lot different when one is somebody on your team that you're rooting for, and 2, just, you know, if you're a fan of the game, you like seeing stuff like that. So I do say that, you know, we all favor the draft. It's a little exciting, you know. We got to watch these players. Now the weird thing too, another reason I'm definitely, you know, giving you guys updates on everyone is the weird thing about this past year. I mean, players got to opt out, right? So a lot of players didn't get to play last year. So if you weren't keeping up with a certain team, you might have missed it, or, you know, you just were not familiar with certain guys. But it's not the most unusual. All right. So, hey, let's jump into it, man. We're going to do the same format as last episode if you tuned in. The way it's going to be done is we're going to go by each division, all right? By each division in the NFC today, and we're going to start in the order of the teams from worst record last year to best record. So the teams that came in last in their division to the team that came in first in their division, and, you know, if they did anything to move the meter, all right? So, starting off, I mean, I think we got to start off exciting, right? You got to start off with some fire, something that's going to keep everybody's attention. So, why not go to the NFC East? Why? Because every team in the NFC East needs something, needs a lot in some cases in order to get past this division easily. You know, they've been struggling a lot, each team. They go back and forth, but, you know, some struggle more than others. So with that being said, man, starting off with the team that came in last place in the NFC East last season during the regular season, the Philadelphia Eagles finished their season 4-11. Now they did have a serious quarterback issue, which I believe they resolved and went with the right guy eventually, and that being Jalen Hurts. So I don't think they needed to even look at a quarterback in this draft. Okay, I think what they needed to look for was weapons. So I don't know, running backs, receivers, maybe even a tight end, because I don't know how everything is going with Ertz or not. And then they needed some defense. They were getting thrown on, so they needed some DBs, some safeties. And then just to stop a little bit of the run, I think they needed an inside linebacker. Now they fulfilled all of that except for one position being the inside linebacker, but they did go for outside linebacker. So maybe they trying to, do some different schemes. But let us discuss who they picked in what order. So, surprisingly enough, in the first round, the Eagles were able to trade up from 12 to 10 with the Cowboys. Yes, their division rival was able to trade with them in order for them to snag Devontae Smith. Yes, wide receiver, Alabama. He also the Heisman winner last year. I believe he was, even if he wasn't the MVP, he should have been MVP for the championship game. But he was ranked number 2 at his position. A lot of that may have to do with his height and weight. He is 6'170", but that has not stopped him from putting up ridiculous numbers. My thing is, the kid won the Heisman. He went to the championship. Everybody know what he do on the field, and they still couldn't stop him. Usually, when you know, like, hey, we need to stop this guy. This is the best player on the field. People, put everything they got against that guy. But being that Alabama has talent all over the place, I guess they couldn't spread themselves too thin. So Devontae had himself a ball, okay? Him getting out there, linking back up with Jalen Hurts, okay? So another Alabama guy. A lot of people comparing Devontae to Deshaun Jackson, who also was a receiver in Philadelphia. All right, but I think that was a great pick. All they had to give up to trade up was give Dallas their third round pick. Okay, looking at the rest of their selections in the second round, they selected center Landon Dickerson out of Alabama. In the third round, they selected defensive tackle Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech. Fourth round, they selected cornerback Zach McPherson out of Texas Tech, which is good. So that's their first cornerback, which I thought they would have went for cornerback in the third round. But, I mean, I understand in selecting Milton Williams, he was ranked number 4 at his position, 6'3", 284. That's a good, defensive tackle size. Get up in there. It's good with his hands. Strong kid. So I'm not mad at that. But, I mean, Zach McPherson, I don't know if he was already on their board or if they were somebody they've been scouting for a while. He's actually, ranked 38 in his position coming into this draft. So, I mean, I don't know if they could have did any better with that one, but that's the situation they came about. Going into the fifth round, they were able to select a running back. So, running back Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis, who's top 10 in his position coming into this. So, okay, fair enough. Hopefully he can transition well. Sixth round, they had 3 picks. So, their first pick, they selected defensive tackle Marlon Tuipulotu. All right, out of USC. The next one, which was literally 2 picks later, they selected defensive end Taron Jackson out of Coastal Carolina. Another sneaky pick, as he is a top 20 defensive end that came into this draft. All right, so I guess they're hoping they can, build on his skill and make him elite. All right, and then, gotta get somebody from LSU. So their last pick in the 6th round was safety Jacoby Stevens, LSU. Hey, look, when you got ASC, if you didn't hear my stat at the end of the last episode, did I say AEC? I don't know what I just said. SEC. The SEC broke their own record with the number of players drafted. All right, 65 players drafted from the SEC. Man, that's the most out of any division, any conference across FBS. All right. So their last pick in the 7th round, they got outside linebacker Patrick Johnson out of Tulane. All right. So, like I said, they fulfilled everything minus what I believe one position that they could have also went for. So that's good. That's good that they handled up on the defensive secondary, got themselves one for sure weapon with a maybe. But we'll see how that turns out, man. I'm excited to see Hurts plus Smith added, man. Where would this put them? I'm going to hold off on saying what order I think that they're going to finish, that each team's going to finish in the East. All right, so let's go move on to the next team, which is y'all Dallas Cowboys. And I'm saying y'all because it's America's team, so I'm pretty sure I'm mostly speaking to Americans. So, I mean, look, you either hate them or you love them. Either way it go, if you hate them or love them for some reason, you are intrigued by them. So you want to know more information. If you love them, you want to see if you're getting better. If you hate them, you want to see if they're getting worse. So the Dallas Cowboys did finish 6-10 last season. But you also have to note that we all understand the unique situation they were in by losing their star quarterback, Dak Prescott, due to a gruesome injury. You always got to keep that in front of mind. But outside of their offense and them having some great players on the offensive side of the ball, their defense was struggling. So what did they need? Defense. Safety, cornerbacks, linebackers. They needed everything they could get, okay? Now, I will, before going into this, like to, put it out there because I'm not going to discuss all of them. But it did seem like some of these key players out here, the top DBs and safeties that Dallas could have had a chance to pick, literally got swept from them 1 to 2 picks right before it was time for them to pick. So they had made some adjustments, but I think they made some solid adjustments, specifically about 2-3 good finesses, All right, so they had a lot of picks. Dallas had, more picks than usual because they had 3 picks in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th. All right, so they were a little bit loaded up on picks. All right, so let's talk about what did they do. Well, the first round, like I said, they made the trade with the Eagles, bumped themselves back to 12 because I believe they couldn't get Pat Surtain, who they wanted. He was already drafted. Now, there was other people out there, but, I mean, really you want to go with the best defensive player on the board after that if you couldn't get the specific player you wanted. And that guy was definitely Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons, inside linebacker out of Penn State. He's ready. That's the best way you could put it. Most of the time when you're talking about top 10, top 20 overall, like players, well, no matter what position, we're talking about the individuals that are ready to play. All right, and that is Micah, man. Micah handles his business. Micah was easily ranked coming into this. He was actually the number 2 ranked linebacker, but he was definitely the high on a lot of people's list and arguably the best linebacker on a lot of people's cases. Second round, they was able to get Kelvin Joseph, cornerback out of Kentucky. That was a solid one for the situation that they were in. Third, they got defensive tackle Osa Adegihuzwa. Sorry if I butchered that, man. I tried to sound it out. Out of UCLA. Third round, the trade that they got from the Eagles, they were able to select DN Chauncey Galston out of Iowa. Kid with some massive long arms, so that'd be good for the team to put their arms up, get some blocks, stuff like that. Next up, they got this is also the last pick because, like I said, they had 3 picks, so the last 2, and then plus this one is their 3 picks in the 3rd round. They got cornerback Nashton Wright, Oregon State. All right, now 4th round is where things get interesting. All the way in the 4th round, their first pick, because they had 2 picks in the 4th round, their first pick, they got inside linebacker Jabril Cox out of LSU, who is somebody that be all over the field handling his business, is already a well-known player, but the catch is he plays the same position as their number 1 pick in Michael Parsons. So I wonder what they're going to do there. And you already know they got, Leighton Vander Esch back there, so it was reported. I guess I could let you guys know that they're not going to give him his 5th year. They're going to wait to see how he plays this year. before capitalizing on that. And I wasn't saying I'm going to tell you guys like it's a secret. It was just, I know we were getting into this, so I was going to save all the new news for next week, but might as well let you know why we're talking about the Cowboys. All right, and they have 2 inside linebackers now. Okay, so the last pick, which is their second pick in the 4th round, is Josh Ball, offensive tackle out of Marshall. Definitely needed to, maybe have some backups in case guys get hurt again. Okay, good. Then they went for a receiver in the 5th round and got Simi Fehoko out of Stanford. 6th round, 2 selections. The first one, the defensive tackle Quentin Bahana out of Kentucky, and the second one, cornerback Israel Mukamu out of South Carolina. Last pick was in the 7th round, 10th selection. They got offensive guard Matt Farniok, Nebraska. Okay, Cowboys. Solid setup. I mean, you guys got the defensive players you were needing. Was able to finesse, a little offensive lineman in there as well. Because you didn't. I mean, and you even got a receiver who is ranked top 30 in his position coming into this. Tall guy too, man. So, all right, speed and size works for you guys. Hopefully, get added to the mix. See what you guys do, man. That looks good for them, man. Let's keep it moving as time is ticking. Next team on the list, the New York Giants. They finished 6-10 as well, but they did defeat the Cowboys in the season, which is why they finished second. All right, so New York Giants, what was you doing? Okay, now I say you needed some linemen. That's what you needed. Linemen to protect your injured quarterback. Okay, let me, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what a red flag is. If it's draft time and your quarterback was one among the injury reserve when the season ended, you are supposed to be looking for people to protect them. Okay? I mean, plus whatever else you needed. Which, I mean, I can say that you guys might needed one or so more weapons on offense. But, more importantly, you needed some people to protect them. I mean, at least 2. Y'all could have got 2 offensive linemen. Ladies and gentlemen, they got 0. They only had 6 picks in this draft and got no linemen. 0. All right. The only other thing I'd say that they accomplished that they actually got, which was, they actually got 2 of them, was they needed some linebackers. They did need some linebackers to get in there and play midfield, stop the runs. So they filled that in. But it wasn't even their first pick. They did go up there and finesse the system to get somebody that they wanted. Well, they didn't finesse up. They actually went down. Anyway, so this is how it's set up, man. First round, they had to trade with the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears jumped up to get a quarterback. And now that the Giants are sitting at 20, they selected wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who's top 10 receiver. He was number 6 at the position. Coming out of Florida, he was there tag teaming it up with Kyle Pitts, definitely, possibly if not starting, maybe the future number 1 receiver for them. Okay, so, all right, cool. I mean, maybe not an Odell, but a solid number 1 receiver, like I said. All right, second round, they go in there, and this is when they, get their outside linebacker, which this was a top outside linebacker in Aziz Ojulari. All right, Aziz Al-Ajari out of Georgia. That's actually they got the 18th pick that they actually got from Miami, and they were able to get a number 2 linebacker. So first 2 picks, cool. Now, I mean, I don't know if I would have used one of those for offensive linemen, but no later than the 3rd would I have gotten an offensive lineman. In the 3rd, they got cornerback Aaron Robinson out of UCF. All right, ranked 11 in his position, but I don't know if it was big need. And after that, they got another outside linebacker in the 4th round. He's also top 10 linebacker in his position, ranked number 6. Ellerson Smith out of Northern Iowa. Then they got weird in the 6th round. They got a running back, and Gary Braitwell out of Arizona. And then they finished things off as their second pick in the 6th round and final pick of this draft. They picked up cornerback Rodarius Smith out of Oklahoma State. Okay. I would say let's unpack this, but we just don't have the time. Giants, you may have failed your quarterback here. We'll see. Prove me wrong, please. If not, I'll be talking enough about you anyway because you're in NFC East and y'all are always in the news. All right, now let's discuss the final team. And the final team is the Washington football team, who came in first place in this division. Not by much. Okay? Not by much at all. They went 7-9, went to the playoffs, lost in the playoffs, of course. But, they gave it their best shot. I'll give them that. It was a beautiful story for people like Alex Smith, so I can't argue too much there. But I would say that they pretty much filled in a lot of the stuff they needed. I think they had room to draft a quarterback. How much do we all, as a football community, not even just as a Washington fan, but as a football community, believe in Fitzpatrick? They have Ryan Fitzpatrick as their starting quarterback as of now. You know who's backup? Taylor Heineke. And you know who's his backup? Kyle Allen. I'd say make some moves. I'd say make something happen, Washington. I don't know if that was the right idea, guys. All right. I understand, though. I do. I understand you guys have faith in people you trust that you have a personal relationship in, but sometimes you just can't let those emotions get in the way. All right, now let's talk about it. Outside of that, though, I think they did all right getting themselves offensive linemen, linebackers, even a receiver for a little playmaker and tight end, a decent tight end at that. This is another team that had quite a few picks, as they had 3 picks in the 7th round and 2 in the 3rd, so a little bit more than everybody else, which is cool. All right, let's see what they got, man. All right, first round, they had the 19th pick, right? 19th pick. What do they do with the 19th pick? Oh, well, they go for the number 3 ranked inside linebacker in Jamin Davis. Jamin Davis played in Kentucky, and he is a great, off-ball linebacker with good length and, outstanding range. The boy can get around. He'll get the job done as a linebacker. But, I mean, was that the best first choice out of who was available? That's what I'm thinking about. Out of everybody that was available, was that the best choice available? You guys had a decent range of need between quarterbacks, receivers, tight end. I don't like Fitzpatrick could even be a solid one to get you through the season, but we're talking about franchise. Like this year's group of quarterbacks easily is like one of the best groups of quarterback to come out in a very long time. So you surprised me that you literally didn't take. I'm talking about outside of the top 5 that everybody keeps talking about. You still had room for people that could easily turn into a franchise quarterback. But I digress. Let's talk about the rest of your picks. In the 2nd round, they received offensive tackle Samuel Cosme out of Texas. Then in the 3rd round, they got cornerback Benjamin St. Juste out of Minnesota. Also in the 3rd round, that's when they selected receiver Diami Brown out of North Carolina. Now, Diami, he ranked top 20 as a receiver. He's a bit of a smaller guy, but he's fast. Usually the smaller guys are, right? Handling the business. They had another receiver just to, I guess, complement Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries. That's fine. All right, 4th round. Tight end John Bates. So that's what I was saying. They got a decent tight end. I believe he's more of a blocking tight end, though. So maybe this would be where, you guys are also beefing up the offensive line in a way, just making it a little versatile. In the 5th round, they selected safety Derek Forrest out of Cincinnati. 6th round. 6th round, they selected Cameron Chessman out of, or it could be Cheeseman, or Cheeseman. Sorry, man. Let me stop playing with your name. They selected Cabot out of Michigan. He is a long snapper, so possibly the only long snapper. I don't remember hearing or seeing anymore. But yeah, they decided they needed themselves a long snapper. Guess you got to get him from somewhere, right? All right. And then their 3 picks in the 7th round, they selected first outside linebacker William Bradley King from Baylor, then D end Shaka Tony out of Penn State, and then last wide receiver Dax Millen out of BYU. Okay, Washington. I'm not gonna lie to you. You got lucky last year. You got lucky. That's what happened. You got lucky. I hope you didn't think, oh, we won last year, we just need a little bit brush up. No, you got lucky. Yeah, the Eagles, unfortunately, had Carson Wentz throwing everybody the ball except for his team. The Cowboys lost their quarterback, unfortunately, in a terrible way. So they were just all discombobulated. And the New York Giants quarterback got injured as well. So guess what? Next year, the Eagles are starting off with Hurts. Dak is back. And Daniel Jones is about to come sing the blues, I'm sure, with Saquon. Because Saquon has a vengeance. Washington, your time is up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my official on-record order is Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, Washington football team. That is the order of the NFC least. I'm not saying it's going to be high scoring or even high records of a lot of wins, but that would be the order if they finish, with the winning team having 7 wins and 10 losses. Who knows? You never know in this division. All right. Now, that is the NFC East. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, come back, get to the next division. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back. All right, I hope you enjoyed that quick commercial break. You were tuned into the GSMC Football Podcast with your guy, DJ Youngs. All right, hey, look, man. The last one, getting things started. All right, now we're on to the next. All right, we're going to go from the east to the north, or as some people say, the north. Okay? All right, they always remember in the north. All right. NFC North, man, this one is intriguing for a number of reasons. But as the format is going, we're going to start from the bottom to the top, baby. All right, so I don't want to say the worst team, but the worst team in the NFC North as of last season was the Detroit Lions, who went 5-11. All right, they just got rid of Matthew Stafford, got the boy Jared Goff in there, so they were like, all right, what's going to happen in while we're time to draft? All right, so let's discuss, man. Let's discuss what they thought they needed versus what everybody thought they needed, and how much of that they filled. All right, now, I just said they got a new quarterback in Jared Goff. I mean, yeah, he's a veteran and he's been to the Super Bowl. But I think that's one of the very rare situations where we can thank the Super Bowl appearance on everyone else but the quarterback. So, some people may have believed, including myself, that they may have, should have gone for a quarterback. They had a top 10 pick. All right. And there was plenty of quarterbacks in this draft, as I keep mentioning. All right. Said they needed some secondary. Like, all right, they needed some safeties in there. And maybe some edge rushers. They got none of those three. They did not get a quarterback. They did not get a safety. They did not get a cornerback. They did not get a DN. So let's talk about what they did get. All right, their first pick in the first round, 7th pick overall, was Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, the number 1 ranked offensive tackle at that. So hard to argue with that. I always think good things about the offensive line. All right, I don't have anything to say about those guys other than get your money, big boy. All right, so good pick. Not mad at it, but again, you still had a chance even in the second round. So let's go to the second round. Are you going to get a quarterback? Nope. They selected defensive tackle Levi Owenzaraki. Sorry if I messed up Owenzaraki last name. Out of Washington. He was a top 2 position ranked D tackle, so that's cool. I guess that's somebody getting to the quarterback on the inside, maybe stop some runs, stuff like that. Then third round, they had 2 picks in the third round. Their first pick was defensive tackle Aleem McNeil out of NC State, and then their second pick, I'm sorry, I said they didn't get a cornerback, but they did, was cornerback Ifantu Melifonwu out of Syracuse. Okay, and then in the fourth round, they had 2 selections again. This is where they decided to get themselves a little skill player, getting wide receiver Amonra St. Brown, who is a top 20 ranked receiver into this. If you're really in the top 20, top 30, that's usually a good look. As a receiver, St. Brown has good hands and solid body control. He wins 50-50 balls. He get up there. He's 6 foot 197, but he got the bunnies, which means he got the hops, which means he can jump high, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't catch the first 2. All right. And the second selection in the fourth round, they selected inside linebacker Derek Barnes out of Purdue, and they did not have a selection in the 5th or the 6th round. They didn't get to pick again until the 7th round, 30th pick, so very near the end. And that's where they decided to grab running back Jamar Jefferson out of Oregon State. Jamar was ranked number 10 at the running back position, and he's really good at following his blocks. So hopefully Penei Sewell can help them with that. All right, now with those selections, plus like I said, with the depth chart that they have, could have got a quarterback. I think DeAndre Swift is solid right now at running back, so I don't really know if you need it. And then his backup is Jamal Williams and Kerryon Johnson, which to me are decent running backs. Okay, wide receiver, yeah, Tyrell Williams being y'all number 1 guy. I think he could have maybe even emphasized a little bit more there. Good job with the Penei Sewell selection on the line. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I guess Nick Williams and Trey Flowers could need a little help in there. So that's why they got the defensive tackle. Like I said, I would, being that this is a league that I believe is really pushing on to 2 really good pass rushers on a defensive line is where they should have been leaning toward. But we see. Okay. It is what it is. All right, so we're just gonna move on from there. Now on to the next team. Coming in third place in this division last season, the Minnesota Vikings went 7-9. All right, so just missing the 500 marker by a game. And I think they did all right. I think they did all right, if you ask me. And guess why? Because they were smart enough to get themselves an Aggie as their first pick. Good job, guys. All right, I sound biased, I know. Well, actually, I take that back. That he wasn't their first pick. Sorry about that. So what they did was they needed, maybe some DBs, D linemen, offensive linemen, linebackers. They got a few of those things, man. In the first round, they went ahead and grabbed themselves a top 3 offensive tackle in Christian Darsaw out of Virginia Tech. They selected him with the 23rd pick overall. All right, 6'5", 322, very hard to get around. And they did get that pick from Seattle through the New York Jets trade. All right, so that's how they was able to finesse that one. Now, they did not get a second round pick. They were out of there for second round, but they had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 third round picks. So that's where it was time for them to clean up. And I think this is where they understood that they can capitalize and kind of, beat people out for a lot of people. All right. So what they did in the third round, well, with their first pick in the third round, the second selection in the third round, they selected quarterback Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. All right. Kellen Mond, broke a lot of records for Texas A&M for the university. And then, he's up there for SEC stats. Not too many SEC players get to stay as long as Kellen stayed. So he was able to rack up some stats, man. But all in all, I mean, he's a solid quarterback developing. He's come a long way for sure. He was ranked number 8 out of the quarterbacks, which is good, being at the top 5 or like elite 5. That, usually you'll probably see one of them in each draft, but hey, there's 5 of them. And to say that he was still up there in the mix, man, and still getting drafted, where he got drafted, I think that was a good selection. I think Minnesota's a good place for him too. So, I hope that all works out for them. And of course, it feels like they're even talking about Kellen Mond more than they're talking about Christian Darsaw out there. When you're looking into what's going on with the Vikings and in their media, mostly because I feel like maybe there'll be some transition from Kirk Cousins. Will we see something there? I mean, imagine the young rookie who actually, if he comes in guns blazing, partnering up with Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, getting blocked, having offensive linemen like Christian Darsaw. I think that's pretty cool. All right, let's get to the rest of their draft picks, though. Okay, in the third round, continued. The second pick, they selected Chaz Surratt, the inside linebacker out of North Carolina. Then they got their hands on offensive guard Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State. Okay. And then their last pick in the third round, still in the third round, they selected defensive end Patrick Jones II out of Pittsburgh. In the fourth round, they had 3 picks. They just cleaning up with these picks, man. All right. For the first pick in the fourth round, they selected running back Kenny Nwangu out of Iowa State. Then they got cornerback Cameron Bynum out of California. And last in the fourth round, they selected with the 29th selection in the fourth round, defensive end Janarius Robinson out of Florida State. Okay, now you see they're addressing the D-line a little bit more. Got themselves another corner, to help out there. So the first half, looks like they were, leaning on offense with the first 2 picks. Then a little bit more defense for the next about 6 minus the offensive guard in Wyatt and the running back in Kinney. All right. To the fifth round, they had 2 selections. They got wide receiver Amir Smith Marset out of Iowa and tight end Zach Davison out of Central Missouri, who's a top 10 tight end, 6'7", 245. It's really tall. Got just enough weight on him to make him very, very flexible, I'm sure. And then in their last pick, they did not have a 7th round, but they got a 6th round in defensive tackle Jalen Twyman out of Pittsburgh. And so you can kind of see where they've been really scouting. I like how they were targeting a lot of, good fair amount of northern assets to handle themselves in that Minnesota menacing weather, But It makes sense. I think you guys did okay for the most part. I'll give you that. If I was ranking it, it'd be a solid 3.5, 4 out of 5. All right, somewhere in there. Good job, good job. All right, let's continue this truck moving. Let's talk about one of these interesting ones. Like I said, this division gets real interesting for a multitude of reasons. So here comes reason number 1. The Chicago Bears, who finished number 2 in this division, which is still far from number 1 because they finished 8-8, just getting that 500 marker. They had their woes. They definitely had plenty of woes. All right, here and there, but like I said, when you got plenty of woes and you still go 8-8, I mean, I guess you can't be too upset with that. Now, my grandfather's a Chicago Bears fan because he is from Chicago, so I try to lean for him a little bit, just because I want my grandpa happy, I'm not a Chicago fan, but I like seeing him happy. I like seeing his team do his thing. All right, so they pretty much got all they needed, if you ask me. They need some offensive linemen. They got some old tackles. They got a receiver, cornerback, and more importantly, they got themselves a quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, let's talk about it. All right, round 1. What did they do? Oh, they didn't do anything except throw themselves up from, the 20th selection to the 11th selection, trading with the New York Giants in order to jump ahead and grab Justin Fields. Yes, quarterback Justin Fields out of Ohio State. 6'3", 227, cannon of an arm, quick on his feet, elusive. Man, if you're a Chicago fan, you should be happy. You shouldn't even worry about anything else. All right? Hey, man. That's dope. That's dope. Y'all got him. Good job. Good job. That was a big surprise to a lot of the world as they jumped up there. No one really knew where Justin was going to land. Man, he fell out the top 10, and Chicago said, hey, we can't wait no longer. Somebody's going to grab him. It's a good chance he could have ended up with the Patriots or who knows. So they jumped up there and got themselves a quarterback because, I mean, let's be frank here. How many of us believed in Andy Dalton? If you've been listening to my episodes, that when Andy Dalton got to the Bears, their chance of winning the Super Bowl actually went down. So that tells you something, right? All right, but now we got Justin Fields, man. You got David Montgomery in the backfield, sometimes switching out with Tariq Cohen. And then you got Allen Robinson, the second at receiver. Oh, man, just get them some more weapons. That's all you need. That's all they need. So what do they go and do? Oh, they going to get what they need, baby. All right, in the second round, man, they went ahead and got themselves an offensive tackle. Got to have somebody to protect the new quarterback, especially because he likes scrambling. So good job with getting the tackles. Now, funny enough, this kid looks like a kid. When you look at the picture, man, go look up some pictures of Tevin Jenkins, such a young man, but he is huge, 6'6", 317, solid individual. He's out of Oklahoma State. Great pick. They did not have a 3rd round pick. They did not have a 4th round pick. So in the 5th round, their next pick was another offensive tackle, that being Larry Borom out of Missouri. He's 6'5", 322. Okay. Also, I like to mention that Tevin Jenkins was a number 4 ranked offensive tackle. So being that you can get the number 4 offensive tackle in the 2nd round, good job. All right. So going from the 5th to the 6th round now, they had 3 selections in the 6th round. Their first selection was Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech, the running back. All right. Cool. Some people believe he's a little undersized. But we've seen running backs, succeed at all sizes. So we'll see what happens there. The next pick in the 6th round, they got receiver Daz Newsome out of North Carolina. Okay, solid. And then the last pick in the 6th round, cornerback Thomas Graham Jr. out of Oregon. And then their last selection that they were able to grab in the 7th round was defensive tackle Karius Tonga out of BYU. All right. So, Chicago, like I said, if anything, you should be mad excited that you have a scrambling quarterback that can keep up with the other superstar achieving dual threat quarterbacks in the league. All right. So let's see how they get used, though, because at this point, I believe now it's up to coaching for the Chicago Bears. So it's on y'all. Now, let's get to the most interesting one. The most interesting one is the team that won the division by a long way by having an MVP quarterback that they basically made it seem like they're about to get rid of because their first pick of the draft last year that they moved for was a quarterback. But Aaron Rodgers ain't playing with them. He came in, took them to the 13-3, all the way to the conference championship. Unfortunately, they lost, but he still showed his tail off to where he is hot commodity. So you know what Mr. Hot Commodity did? Oh, well, the morning of the draft, he decided to let it be known. I mean, him or his team, somebody decided to let it be known that he doesn't plan on playing in Green Bay next year. Big news. Him basically saying, I am open for new options, and everybody that didn't get a quarterback that needs a quarterback is going to be all hands on his way, I'm sure. Now, I mean, the Green Bay Packers say that they believe otherwise. They believe that he will still be there, okay? They believe that he will, be playing for them because they are going to try to make him feel better. So let's see if they made him feel better. Now, if you ask my opinion, if I'm going to get my 10 cents real quick before I get into what they did, I think he also said, because I don't think that was a year-long grudge. I don't think he held that grudge for that long and decided to be like, I'm going to wait till next year and then say something. No, I think it was both of them double tapped. I think after what happened last year, then coming into this year, he like, let's see if they do better by me, because not only did, I say something, I'm sure, the whole world was saying something. Everybody in the world said something about this situation on every sports channel, on every network. And guess what? I bet they still didn't hit him up about plans, and that's where he drew the line. That's where he had to let it be known, hey, nah, they got me messed up. I'm not coming back. For what? For what? They don't respect me around here. Did you just see what I did this season? Do you see what I do? You see this arm, man? He knows who he is. He's feeling himself, and we can't argue with that. So in the first round, what did the Green Bay Packers do? Are they going to make Aaron Rodgers happy? Oh, well, with the solid secondary defense, they had decided to go for a cornerback. What? Come on, DJ Youngs, explain this to me. Didn't you just give a top 20 DB ranking and they had 2 on there? They definitely had 2. And wasn't one of them one of the top 2 on your list? Yes, number 2 was a Green Bay Packer. But hey, I also can't, I'm not knocking this young man because, boy, is he, a superstar. But in the first round, 29th pick, the Green Bay Packers selected Eric Stokes out of Georgia. He's a 10th ranked quarterback coming out of his class, but he's very strong. I mean, look, in the SEC, it's a lot of strong guys. So when it comes to skills positions like receiver and cornerback, you can definitely get count top 20 as, the top 10 selections type deal. But that's what they got. And then the next come around, they decided to get in the second round was Josh Myers, the center out of Ohio State. Now, why'd they get a center? I guess Lucas Patrick's not getting it done? Maybe. I mean, everyone feels you guys have a solid offensive line, but okay. All right. Get yourself a little backup snapper in case things are turning, I guess. But, okay. All right, then in third, now they decide and get a skill player. And at that time, they decided to get Amari Rodgers, receiver, Clemson. Good pick. Can't argue with it. Like I just said, outside of the SEC, the next conference that has a lot of great players that is also the second conference that's closest to how many people get drafted is the ACC. So getting Amari Rodgers, who was an elite receiver at Clemson, then I mean, cool. Add to it. Help out Adams. All right. Now in the 4th round, they selected offensive guard Royce Newman out of Ole Miss. In the 5th round, they had 2 selections. The first one was defensive tackle to Darrell Slayton out of Florida, and then cornerback Sherman Jean Charles out of Apache State. 6th round, 2 selections again, offensive tackle Cole Van Lannon, and then inside linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, sorry buddy, out of Boston College. Last selection in the 7th round was running back Kellen Hill out of Mississippi State. Okay, yeah, I rate that this draft for you guys like a 2. I think you should have done better. You gotta remember, you guys just needed enough. And I understand you want to focus and get 2 cornerbacks, one being your first one because of what happened to you in that conference championship. But really, guys, it was just one guy. You just had to fix one guy. The rest of your secondary was solid, but one guy got picked on. You couldn't trust him, so either get him out of there, trade for somebody new, or just get one guy later on. Eric Stokes is good, but I don't know, man. I think you guys could have did better there with that first pick. And then beyond that, it still wasn't enough. I can't blame Aaron. Hey, Aaron's on the market, man. Now, granted, given the team being solid enough to go 13-3, could they still go without any of these guys? Could they fix their problem during this offseason and, mature on? That's a possibility. But that, like I said, that excludes the draft, and I'm talking about the draft right now, and I think that you guys did poorly here. Now, let's talk about how I really feel in the long run and say what I think about what's going to happen in this division. Well, honestly, I kind of think it's going to end up the same way. Exactly. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win the division, asterisk if Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback. Now, if that changes, I can't speak on that. But if it stays that it's Aaron under center, Aaron Jones behind him, and Devontae outside, then okay. That's still a solid little squad, and I think y'all still win it. And the Chicago Bears with their new quarterback, I mean, shoot, he got some, at least 3 minimum games in him to win by himself. So as long as everybody else keep doing what they've been doing, then you guys should still be at least 8-8. But I think they'll do better now. If Justin is going to start now, right now, if you look at the depth chart, he's not starting. So we'll see. Minnesota, I think you guys may match that 8-8, or if Chicago does better, you guys can do better and get up there, but still come in third. Or I could be wrong there, and it could flip flop. It could be Minnesota, and then Chicago falling, because Chicago decides not to use Justin, and then Minnesota, they got all kind of weapons, so they can definitely be number 2 if they want to be. And then Detroit Lions, well, guys, you're still gonna be the Detroit Lions, all right. Okay, man. Hey, I hope no one's upset here so far. I hope no one is mad at me for my comments, but I'm just telling you how it is. All right. It is time for another commercial break. All right. Stick around. We're going to move on to the next division. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back. As always, thank you so much for your patience. I'm sure you enjoyed that commercial break, right? Of course you did. All right. Hey, it is time to move on. We have 2 more divisions left, so let's get to the next one. We are going over to the very exciting NFC South. And why is it so exciting? Well, you have Drew Brees, who retired from the Saints. You have Tom Brady, who just seems like no matter how much older he gets, he's still just very unstoppable. You have the Carolina Panthers, who seem a little confused on what they want to do with themselves. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons that can't help themselves, even if they needed to save their lives. I don't know. It's just they just couldn't help it. Like, even when they had the games in the bag, they still found ways to lose it. So, I mean, I don't know what other ways to put it than please help them. Now, with that being said, let's start off with the bottom team, being the Atlanta Falcons, who finished 4-12 in the regular season this past season. A lot of people had different, thoughts on what they think they needed. I heard they needed a quarterback. I also heard that Matt Ryan's fine. I mean, you've heard me speak about my thoughts on Matt Ryan here on this podcast before, and what I think he's capable of. If you look at the numbers across the board, statistically, Matt Ryan's doing fine. But there seemed to be some type of lack of connection between him, the other guys, the coaching staff, somebody. And that's what has got them where they are with only 4 wins last season. All right? So it was believed that maybe they needed a quarterback, right? Then you can also say they definitely needed some cornerbacks. They were getting beat on the outside, coming at the bottom in the NFL with, when it comes to yardage from passes. So they also needed to catch those outside linebackers as well. Basically, their perimeter was just trash. And then you can also put them in the market for a running back. So out of things I've named, they got a cornerback. All right, man, let's get into it, man. They had the 4th overall pick, with the 4th overall pick being that this is one of the top drafts for a quarterback. So if you think you need a quarterback, they have all the opportunity to get one at number 4, right? Well, they decided to go for who I believe to be the most elite offensive player in the game, well, in the draft, going into the game, who could possibly be an easy Hall of Famer. And that is tight end Kyle Pitts out of Florida. A lot of people liked it. I think Atlanta fans, for the most, liked this pick, but a lot of people also didn't like it for different reasons. We knew the top 3 picks were going to be quarterbacks. Number 4 is where it was shaky. No one knew where they were going to go. They didn't know if they were going to go for the best running back, the best receiver, the best tight end, the best, remaining quarterback, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it was like no surprise, but it was still kind of like, okay, Kyle Pitts. Now, the reason I think a lot of people are excited is because now you have Matt Ryan, who's a superstar. I mean, regardless, like I said, his stats still say the same. You got Julio Jones, they have Calvin Ridley, and now they have Kyle Pitts. All right, so weapons on the offensive side that you can't really argue about. As far as, hey, y'all should get it done. Y'all should score the points. But you got to remember, you need that defense for sure, because you cannot whatsoever blow leads. You got to understand, you guys are the joke of everybody. If anybody blows a lead, that's who they're referring to. Like, you're looking like a Falcon. All right. But let's see who the rest of you got to see if you can hold that down. All right. So their next pick, which came in courtesy of a trade, with the Denver Broncos. So they got the 8th pick in the 2nd round. And with that pick, they selected safety Richie Grant out of UCF, the 3rd ranked safety in this draft. All right. Solid pick. In the 3rd round, they selected They selected offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. 4th round, they had 2 selections. The first one, cornerback Darren Hall out of San Diego State. And then the second one was center Drew Dahlman out of Stanford. In the 5th round, they had 3 selections. First selection, you got defensive tackle Taquan Graham out of Texas. Second one, you got DN out of Tacumbo Agundeji. Yeah, out of Notre Dame. And then cornerback Avery Williams. Thank you, Avery, for helping me out here with your name, buddy. Avery Williams out of Boise State. All right, and then their final selection was in the 6th round, 3rd pick, wide receiver Frank Darby out of Arizona State. And Frank Darby is top 30 ranked quarterback in his draft. All right, so, hey, don't sleep here. You might have something. All right, so for them, I think that's okay. You see, they kind of beefed up the D-line. They got themselves 2 cornerbacks and a safety. So you could tell that they were trying to, help themselves a little bit here. Now, hopefully these are the best picks. I mean, really it's going to come down to how they're being used at the end of the day anyway. So hopefully you guys use them properly. But yeah, you got yourself a tight end. So I guess that's one weapon on the offensive side of the ball. Didn't get a running back. Didn't get your quarterback. But you got, cornerbacks to help on that perimeter. Okay. I don't know where I grade this. This is like one of the very few that's like I might really need to just see this play out because a lot of factors come into play. All right. So we're just going to move on to the next team. All right. Coming third in this division last season, the Carolina Panthers finished 5-11. Clearly, they have felt their way that they have about Teddy Bridgewater. They have found themselves trying to get anybody that they can. As soon as something come up about another quarterback somewhere else, they have been putting in their tickets, trying to get it. Okay, not mad at that. But through all in all, they ended up having Sam Darnold. They have Sam Darnold, man. Back up to him, P.J. Walker. I think he's solid. And then they even still have Will Grier here, for people that remember him, all on their roster. Running back Christian McCaffrey, superstar. So clearly they don't need a running back. He's coming back healthy, I'm sure. DJ Moore, a receiver. That's solid. David Moore, his brother. Not really. I'm just saying that. Also a receiver. And they have Robbie Anderson, as we all know, was the lead receiver when he was on the Jets. So, with the offense like that and the offense they had struggling, you kind of like, okay, what are they in the market for, right? Well, on the offensive side of the ball, they could still use a weapon. They could use one weapon, maybe not running back, but I guess since you got DJ Moore out there, you got some outside, put someone inside, so tight end is a good idea. Get back to the good old days is when you had the Cam to the Olsen, stuff like that worked so well and got them so far, clearly. All right, you want to beef up your offensive line just to add protection to whoever you're going to have playing quarterback. Some people say they clearly are still in the market for a quarterback because, once the names I just ran off wasn't enough, if you ask me. And then you can always add to your defensive line and secondary. All right. And let's see what they did. So in the first round, 8th pick, they decided to select cornerback J.C. Horn, South Carolina, which that's a good pick. J.C. Horn was juggled, 1-2 as the top DB coming into this game, into this draft. So, depending how you feel about him, he could be 1, he could be 2. Officially, he's ranked number 2, officially on paper, but it might as well be 1A and 1B. So, they got themselves a top DB coming into this. J.C. Horn is out of South Carolina. Good pick. That's great. So, keeping it in SEC in the second round, they decided to select another superstar that they was able to finesse in the second round, at the bottom of the second round, and that's wide receiver Terrence Marshall Jr. So, like I said, a weapon and a top weapon, man. He was actually just ranked 8th at this position, but you got to remember, man, like the way that all of these receivers were going off at LSU season before last, my goodness. But yeah, they got him in the second round. Third round, they got 2 selections. The first one being offensive tackle Brady Christensen out of BYU. And then they got tight end Tommy Tremble out of Notre Dame. So they got themselves another offensive player covering, like I said, a tight end or receiver. They got 2, both of those. And Tommy Tremble is ranked number 4 in that position at tight end going into this draft. In the 4th round, they decided to get the running back. Got running back Chuba Hubbard out of Oklahoma State. Then in 5, they got 2 picks. First pick, defensive tackle Davion Nixon out of Iowa. And then cornerback Keith Taylor out of Washington. All right, so now we're up to 2 cornerbacks, a running back, a tight end, or receiver, offensive tackle. I like the diversity in the selections. All right, good job. In the 6th round, they had 3 picks. Offensive guard Deontay Brown out of Alabama was first. Then wide receiver Shi Smith out of South Carolina. And then long snapper Thomas Fletcher out of Alabama. So that's two long snappers that got drafted. Note how many. Well, I'm gonna finish it and then we're gonna talk about it. And then last but not least, their 7th round pick was defensive tackle Phil Hoskins out of Kentucky. Now, I would like to point out, did y'all hear all these SEC teams? Clearly, in the Carolinas, they love that Southeastern Conference. All right? But, hey, I think this was solid for them. I think this was okay. Outside of them, not getting a quarterback. Because, Justin Fields was still available. But I guess they're going to run their course with Sam Darnold. Good luck with that one. And, of course, another thing is they might be sneaking something in there with P.J. Walker. I can see that happening. I think Sam Darnold might be, a smokescreen or something. But they get him in there, tag P.J. Walker alongside Christian McCaffrey and these weapons at receiver that they have now. Oh, y'all just wait. And if you think P.J. Tucker, goodness gracious. How many times have I said P.J. Tucker? I hope that was the first time. You guys, I'm in Houston, and I am a closet Rockets fan as of right now. Going to miss P.J., but I'm definitely talking about P.J. Walker, who plays for the Panthers. I hope they use him right. P.J. Walker is young. Guy's only 26. He made a name himself, got himself in this league, and I think they should use him. I think he should start if he proves himself. Of course, he has to prove himself. I understand that. His little bit of time that he did get to play last season wasn't the prettiest. I get it. 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. That ain't what you want to see. But hopefully y'all been working on that. He was probably just nervous, guys. That's all. Give him another chance. But Carolina, I see what you're doing, man. I'll tell you one thing. I can definitely see you guys not looking worse than the Falcons. I think you guys might have a chance to still be above them, unless they make some serious changes. But let's move on to the next team, who is it feels weird to even just talk about them at this point. I feel like they're supposed to be the top of the top, the last one. But, hey, I'm going in the order I'm going in. So the team that finished 3rd in this division but 1st in the league when all was said and done, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finished 11-5 in the regular season. They did lose to the Saints twice, who finished in 1st. But Tampa Bay got the last laugh. But we're not here to really laugh at anybody. We're here to see how they did in their draft selections. All right? So when you got a quarterback like Tom Brady, who people think could be on his way out the door, but every time somebody says that, he kind of wows the world and shuts you up, right? So it's like, dang it, do we need a quarterback, or do we get one just in case, or what? Maybe, just maybe not one of the very, very, first ones. they did have the last pick because they won a Super Bowl, so in the first round. So it's like, I guess they definitely want to weigh their options. They could definitely still be in the market for a quarterback. Tom Brady has another year on his deal, right? Did they extend him 2 more years? Something like that. He'll be here 1 to 2 more years. So regardless, maybe it would be smart, being that this draft class had a lot of quarterback capital, to just go ahead and get somebody to learn from Tom Brady, be his protege for the next 1 to 2 years. Of course, get somebody in there, and then receivers, offensive tackles. And maybe some people on defense, even though their defense is so elite. So let's just see what they get. I mean, they won the Super Bowl and they brought everybody back. It kind of can't miss, to be honest. In the first round with the 32nd pick, their first pick was offensive. I keep saying offensive. Outside linebacker Joe Tryon out of Washington. Okay, solid pick. 4th ranked. Okay, 6'5". All right, this is an outside linebacker at 6'5", 300 pounds. It's going to be hard to keep that guy off you. It's going to be hard to get the ball over this guy. That is a great pick by Tampa Bay. All right. Now, in the second round, with the 32nd pick, in the second round, they selected quarterback Kyle Trask out of Florida, which I like Kyle. I don't know if, they just felt like they knew him better because they're all sitting down there in Florida. Do I think Kyle is a good fit for this specific team? That's the part I don't know. Do I think he's worthy enough to be drafted in the second round? Yes. So there's going to just have to be some stuff, I don't know, some footage that I'm going to have to see with him in practice, or, them saying that him and Tom are just buddy, and he's learned so much from him, then I'll take him a little more serious. But as far as being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But let's continue. In the third round, they selected offensive tackle Robert Hainsey out of Notre Dame. In the fourth round, wide receiver Jalen Darden out of North Texas, which that was one of the receivers I was telling you guys about episode ago. He's kind of short to some people. Great slot receiver though. He's 5'8", 175 pounds. All right, so it hurt his grade a lot, but the kid has speed and hands. He's as slot receiver, he's super explosive. He has a good top speed, which makes him very dangerous on an open field, coming across the field, hitting up seams, stuff that you might miss this little guy. And he's not little. I'm just referencing what people believe an individual at 5'8", 175 is. Not saying I'm 5'8", 175. I'm actually 5'9", all right? So don't play with me. All right. In the fifth round, inside linebacker KJ Britt out of Auburn. And then no pick in the sixth round, but they did have 2 picks in the seventh round to make up for it. So they first go cornerback Chris Wilcox out of BYU. And then outside linebacker Grant Stewart out of Houston, which Grant Stewart, a.k.a. Mr. Irrelevant, being picked dead last in this draft. But he has a great team behind him, situation behind him. All right. So him getting in there and getting it done for them, I think they're going to try to make it a purpose because they want, to delete the stigma of where you're drafted. As Tom Brady, was drafted so late, then of course, he did so well. He definitely wanted it to be known. Keep a lookout for that guy. That's all I'm saying. You're going to want to hear his name again because they might try to make it a whole, billboard type situation. But they got what they needed. They got themselves another receiver, another little weapon, a backup quarterback, offensive tackle, linebacker, just in case, I guess. Some kids to really just learn behind a lot of great people, if we're being honest. If anything, we should just be more worried about the guys that they brought back. All right. I can't say anything negative about what Tampa Bay did because they won the Super Bowl, and they could have just drafted a lot of duds because who's going to stop them as of right now. I mean, are they still the favorite? I have seen and heard a lot of the conversation behind people saying, are you taking the field or are you taking them? I'm taking a field, of course, just because probability, guys, probability. All right. Last team we got to discuss is the New Orleans Saints. They finished first, actually. All right. They finished first in their division, going 12-4. That's a really good record, but they had Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is no longer with them. Not passed away, just he's no longer their quarterback as he has retired. So, with the short amount of picks they have, because, everybody else here was piled up. The New Orleans Saints had one pick in every round except for the fifth. They had no pick in the fifth, all right? So, just 6 simple picks. What do you do with those picks? Well, some people might feel, hey, quarterbacks they got there, Jameis, don't think he's going to get it done. Get you a quarterback, get you a receiver. Thomas can't do it by himself. Get you some defensive help. Well, this is what it looks like they did. All right, they got a defensive end, Peyton Turner, out of Houston in the first round. All right, clearly there's something they like about Peyton Turner. Maybe it's because he's 6'6", 268 at DN. All right, makes him very, very versatile. You want to be on the opposite end of Cam Jordan. That would be something hard to get past. In the second round, they got inside linebacker Pete Werner out of Ohio State. In third round, cornerback Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. And then it got interesting in the fourth round as they selected quarterback Ian Book out of Notre Dame. My 10 cent, we're not going to see Mr. Book maybe ever. And then sixth round, offensive tackle Landon Young out of Kentucky. And in the seventh round with their final pick, they selected wide receiver Kawan Baker out of South Alabama. So they got a receiver. Okay, and Kawan. Okay, I'm not mad. I can't wait to see the guy at work. They got themselves cornerback. Okay, you might have needed one or two just in case. No outside linebackers, no safeties. They got an inside linebacker, and then nobody on the line to protect whoever is going to be quarterback. No, they got Landon Young, but nobody on that interior. No center, no guard. This got to go back in that other bucket of we got to see. Really, we just got to see what's going on with them altogether, because after however long, they don't have their Pro Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback catching the snaps. But Sean Payton at coaching back, I guess. I'm pretty sure he got it figured out. They'll be fine. The Saints will be fine. So with me saying the Saints will be fine, but they still lost their quarterback, and Tom Brady still being in their division. Tampa Bay is going to take number 1 spot here. If Carolina does the right thing, they can take number 2, put Saints at 3, Falcons at 4. If the Falcons do what they're supposed to do, then actually Falcons at 2. This is, the most unclear one I'm going to give you guys, because this is the number 1 division that could go a lot of ways. A lot of surprises can come our way. I'm not going to lie. NFL is very unpredictable game to game, but I'm usually pretty solid on how I feel in most of these divisions. This one, I'm not confident at all with taking anybody other than Tampa Bay. Then the other 3 is free for all. Free for all. To be honest, Saints could be coming in last next year if they're not careful. But hey, that is all I got for this division, man. It's time to take a quick break so that we can discuss the last one. We'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And now it's time for the last segment, the last division, guys. Hey, man, it's time to wrap things up. Let's get into it. All right, so far, last episode, you got every division in the AFC. This episode, we have all of the NFC. We've come down to the last and final division, the NFC West. Very competitive division. I am known for usually saying that it's up there in competitiveness with the AFC North, who we all know is very competitive. But when it comes to the NFC, I believe this is their most competitive division, as all four of these teams have, made their way at different times to the Super Bowl, literally within the last decade and a half. Okay? So, let's get into it, man. Start from the bottom to the top. Team that came in last place this past season with, I believe, should be, with an asterisk, because they had to overcome possibly the most significant injury losses out of any team, if you ask me. The San Francisco 49ers, they finished 6-10, which, definitely could have been worse. And they have all kind of situations. No one knew what was going to happen with Jimmy G, if they're going to keep him or not, especially after they decided to make their way up to the top of the draft board before the draft. So they've been in the news before, during draft, and now after, because of what they had done. All right, so what did they need? What did they need? So because of the quarterback question mark, of course, everybody believed them, going top three. They're getting a quarterback, either somebody to replace Jimmy or somebody to succeed him in the next year. On top of that, always need the protection, always need at least one skill player to help your team out, and then defensive line, and a secondary. So somewhere in there, you're hoping to get enough to be able to score and stop people from scoring, right? And when you're drafting, your whole job is to look for the individuals that will make a difference in the long run, not only when they just get there. Okay, I want to say this now. If I've made it clear throughout this episode and the last, is that no matter the importance isn't when these guys are taken. All right, just because you got drafted 5th round doesn't mean you're not better than somebody that got drafted in the 1st round for the long run. You see what I mean? It's all about where you went, how they use you, things of that nature. I can use a great example, just as far as, I'm not even going to use a league. I'm going to use a regular world example with myself. I've said before on here that I was a good athlete. I was, nothing taken away. I'm glad I had the opportunities I did. But I know if I would have went to the other schools that weren't as good as or talented as the guys at my school, I would have been, their superstar. Because I was good, but I would have been better than everybody else at that school versus the school I went to with a lot of superstars. So I wasn't used the same way I would have been used at another school, right? So that's what happened with some of these guys, is that, they were good enough to be noticed, but mind you, if they were at, certain schools and certain schemes, some linebackers, are better when one of their hands is on the ground, for example, versus the ones that need to be standing up, right? It's all kind of stuff like that. So, when you hear 1st round picks 1 through 32, all the way through, that's not in the order of their abilities. It never is. All right. But y'all know that already, right? I'm sure of it. So let's talk about what San Francisco did. Well, in the 1st round, being that they, finessed the system and made that trade with Miami to get the 3rd overall pick in this draft, they definitely selected one of the top 3 quarterbacks that, people were talking about going into this draft, which being Trey Lance. Trey Lance was selected 3 overall. He's the quarterback out of North Dakota State. Guy that got to play 1 whole season, then 1 game this past season just to showcase himself. Didn't lose a game. He looked good. His pro day, I think he had 2 pro days, if I'm not mistaken. Good arm, good ratings. But based off of what it seems like, he looks like the guy that they're wanting to prepare for 2022 season. So if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. They could be using Jimmy G to make some things happen here later on. But As of right now, I believe that Jimmy is going to be the starter and Trey is going to be the backup. And I guess if something happens to Jimmy within that time or within the season, then Trey has to, jump up. But other than that, I think they want him to sit back there, kind of like how Jordan Love just sat in the background and maybe making his way to the front now. All right. Their second round, they selected offensive guard Aaron Banks out of Notre Dame. Third round, they had two selections. The first one, they selected running back Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. That's a very interesting one. Trey Sermon is a top-ranked running back in this draft. I'd say top 3, but he was officially ranked top 4. He was the 4th overall ranked in his position. And I say that's interesting because I think Raheem Mostert is a solid running back, a really good running back. So being that they went to go get somebody of that caliber, maybe they just, really want to ramp up their offensive talent. I'm also just surprised that Trey lasted that long. I could have easily seen him going at the bottom of the second, but he didn't. Somebody let him get away. A lot of people did. All right. The second person they got in the third round was cornerback Ambry Thomas out of Michigan. And then they did not have a 4th round pick, but in the 5th round they had 3 selections. First one being offensive guard Jalen Moore out of Western Michigan. And then cornerback Demondor Leonard. And he's out of Oregon. And then their final selection in the 5th round was safety Talano Hufanga out of USC. So definitely getting them some DB, secondary guys, offensive linemen, good pick up there. In 6th round, it was their last pick. They did not have a 7th round pick. So in the 6th round, with the 10th selection in the 6th round, they selected running back Elijah Mitchell out of Louisiana. So another running back. I think this is the only team that selected 2 running backs in their draft. I don't know what that means. I don't know why they did it, but I mean, okay, cool. I'm sure there's usually a method behind the madness. All right. Some believe that they should have added a little bit more on the defensive line, I guess, to help out with, Nick Bosa. He was injured last season, but he'll be back this season. So, again, that's, I could believe, pitching on my idea of having, more than one superstar on your defensive line. But between him, DJ Jones, Javon Kinlaw, Arik Armstead, that's the guys that they have right now on that line. I think that's a solid line. So I don't think it was terrible that they didn't get a guy. But yeah, I think this was an okay draft. I really am excited to see what happens with Trey Lance. This whole transition of the NFL moving from, the great American pocket passers to, the now flashy dual threat quarterbacks. I'm digging it. I'm definitely digging it. So I believe my prediction that I told somebody, I can't remember who, but I told somebody that my prediction is within the next 5 years, that's going to be the wave. Like, it's going to be the normal is that you have a dual threat quarterback. It's going to start looking like good old Florida, Texas, and California state football games. I'm sure, like, that's your best player is usually the most athletic player, and he plays quarterback. That's what it's going to look like, and it's going to be dope. All right. San Francisco, great selection. I think the selections you made, plus your guys coming back, will change your outcome from what we just saw this past season with you only winning 6 games. All right. Moving on to the next team. The Arizona Cardinals coming in 3rd, man. I had high expectations for them this past season. I can't lie. They finished 8-8, so it was straight 500. Can't have that going in next season. As we have another game. So Kyler. What is it going to take? This after his 2nd year in the league, which, wow, Tom is flying. I'll give it that. But yeah, with his 2nd year in the league, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's about time to move that needle. It's usually the 3rd year. The 3rd year is when it's time. He got himself another receiver added to his roster during this offseason, and A.J. Green. He already had the best, arguably the best, if not the second best in the league, in DeAndre Hopkins. I told y'all, do not sleep on Christian Kirk. He is only getting better, making his way up. So he has weapons. I mean, he has Chase Edmonds at running back, and they acquired James Conner from the Steelers. So are they going to, beef up on offense, or do we think they need to add to defense? Well, I mean, you got Chandler Jones. He's been a top D lineman in the league. Oh, and then guess who else they got? Oh, just, multi-time winning defensive player of the year in J.J. Watt. Okay. Well, and they had a top pick in Isaiah Simmons as a linebacker. Like, they got a pretty solid defense. So, what about the secondary? Oh, well, they just have Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson and Malcolm Butler. Where is the hole? We have to find the hole to plug on this team. Why did they go 8-8? Well, that was before they had a few of these guys that I just named. And so, but really looking at it, you got the receivers and stuff. So I don't think they need receivers. They still draft a receiver, which we'll talk about. Maybe a tight end, if that. A tight end, a running back, I'd say, maybe, yeah. If you're really pushing it, but hey, you get what you get. And then I guess you could always just add to the defense, because you just got to keep them boys on their toes, make them know that their job can be up at any point to keep them pushing. Long story short, let's talk about what they got, man. First round, 16th pick, they selected outside linebacker Xavier Collins out of Tulsa. He is the number 1 ranked linebacker, outside linebacker, that came into this draft. So, okay, cool. Add him over there with Simmons, man. Y'all got yourselves a solid defense. Now, in the second round, they went wide receiver. And that wide receiver was Rondale Moore out of Purdue. Okay? He's on the shorter end, standing at 5'7", 181. But he's an explosive slot receiver. So, I guess, like I said, you got those guys in AJ and Hopkins on the outside. So if you don't get a tight end, then I guess get a slot receiver. That technically works the same, right? All right. Cornerback. They did not have a third round pick. Going to the fourth round, they selected cornerback Marco Wilson out of Florida. No fifth round pick, but they had 2 in the 6th. Their first selection in the 6th was D-end Victor Demkiji out of Duke. And then the second one in the 6th was cornerback Tay Gowan out of UCF. After that, going into the 7th round, 2 more selections. Safety James Wiggins out of Cincinnati, and center Michael Minute out of Penn State. Okay, so as you can see, for one, they didn't have anything outside of, 7. There was different orders, but 7 picks, solid 7 picks, just to get enough to help out, because they really got a pretty good squad. I have friends, brothers, and associates that were Houston Texans fans, that once J.J. Watt left, they drew the line because of what Texans had going on with Hopkins at first, and he went over there. Then you heard Deshaun Watson wanted to leave, and then J.J. Watt went over there. So a lot of them have migrated to Cardinals fans, and in my professional opinion, as someone that is talking to, you guys and don't have a team, so I'm unbiased, I think that was a good move by them, because I believe the Cardinals are on the move. I'm going to wait till I finish every team to tell you my rankings on where I think everybody's going to finish. But I think the Arizona Cardinals are in a good spot. Okay? All right, next team, Los Angeles Rams. The team that just got themselves a great quarterback because they spent so much for him, so he must be amazing. Matthew Stafford. Good job. Good job. I don't know if I believe what I'm saying, but hey, for what you guys spent, I know that's what you want to hear. All right. Los Angeles Rams went 10-6 in the regular season this past season, and came in second in their division. Seattle Seahawks had a really good run at the beginning of the season, and then kind of got a little shaky, but they still were able to finish it off. So let's talk about what the Los Angeles Rams got in this draft. All right. As far as what they needed, they have a solid defense, if you ask me. Maybe they needed a few more weapons on offense. That's what I'm believing. But of course, you can always use a little bit of help on defense here and there. So let's see what they did, man. They had a good amount of picks too. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 selections. All right. Let's see. They did not have a first round pick. No first round pick for the Los Angeles Rams in the second round. With their first selection being the 25th pick in the second round, they selected wide receiver Tutu Atwell out of Louisville. All right. Okay, this is your first pick. Like I just said, you guys probably need some more weapons on offense. This was a good one. Tutu was ranked 7th in receivers coming into this draft. Another slot receiver that is known for having lightning quick feet. You know, usually these shorter guys with lighter weight can move. That's what it is. He's 5'9", 155, so real small guy. I'm pretty sure they're going to have him add a little weight to him before the season starts. But, like, that means you can move here, there, like all around, and you got good hands. And when you're a receiver and you're ranked this high, that's the reason why. In the third round, they selected inside linebacker Ernest Jones out of South Carolina. Fourth round, they had 3 selections. The first one being defensive tackle Bobby Brown III out of Texas A&M. Whoop! Good job with that selection. In the next, they selected cornerback Robert Rochelle out of Central Arkansas. And then the last one in the fourth, they selected wide receiver Jacob Harris out of UCF. In the 5th round, they got themselves a DN in Ernest Brown IV. Now that's interesting. Mind you, these Ernest names are spelled different, but yes, they got themselves another Ernest. And just so you're not confused, the first one was Jones, but then the next selection was Bobby Brown. So when you mix Ernest Jones and Bobby Brown together, you get, oh, mind you, Bobby Brown is the third. So when you mix those two together, you get Ernest Brown IV out of Northwestern. I'm just messing around, guys. No 6th round pick. Going into the 7th round, 3 selections into the 7th round because they had the 5th selection, the 22nd selection, and the 25th selection. All right, so the first one in the 7th with the 5th pick was running back Jake Funk out of Maryland. And then next up, wide receiver Ben Skoronk out of Notre Dame. And their last selection for this team, outside linebacker Chris Garrett out of Concordia St. Paul. All right. So this, I think, is the first team that we saw 3 receivers get drafted. They got themselves 3 receivers, guys. 3 receivers, 2 D linemen. Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 receivers, 2 D linemen, and a cornerback, 2 linebackers. Okay. You see, they wanted to get some scoring done, man. That's for sure. I think they could have added a tackle. That might have been the only thing I was include here is adding the offensive tackle. But I mean, hey, when you're Los Angeles Rams, you have such an elite defense. I can see why they focus a little bit more on offense with 1, 2, 3, 4. What? Only 4 of their picks were on offense, actually. And then 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. I actually have more on defense. Interesting. Okay, well, hey. Is this enough to move the needle? That's what this is always coming down to, man. You guys went through free agency. You made your trades. You come to the draft. You made this point. Now it's game time. Now it's time to see who's about to win these starting positions. I think I have an idea, but we're going to get to it. Let's go to the last and final team, the team that won the division last season for them, and that would be the Seattle Seahawks. All right. Now, this is a weird one, only because if you haven't been keeping up, a lot of things have happened over the years to where the Seattle Seahawks only had 3 picks in this draft. 1 in the 2nd round, 1 in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th. They did not have a 1st. They did not have a 3rd. They did not have a 5th or 7th. All right, so starting at 2, they had every other, and I guess they just had to make the best that they could with it. Luckily enough, Seattle has a decent team, but let's see who they added. All right, first up in the 2nd round, the 24th pick, they selected wide receiver Dwayne Eskridge out of Western Michigan. In the 4th round, they selected cornerback Trey Brown out of Oklahoma. And then their final pick in the 6th round, 24th pick in the 6th round, they selected offensive tackle Stone Force out of Florida. All right. Like I said, they were first in the NFC West last season, went 12-4. They mainly went 12-4 because they had a great offense, a great quarterback, great receivers, good run game, great coaching. You get the ball in the end zone, you keep the other team from getting in the end zone, you win games, you go far. That's usually the formula, right? These guys here, I think were just, additions. They understood that they had to make, if any, moves beforehand, and then come into this draft with their 3 picks and really just get the best 3 that they could for what they believed they needed. Because, like I said, outside of, I don't know if they should have went receiver first. I believe when you got 2 great receivers, and I mean, if you're going to go on the inside, okay, it's cool on the slide, but maybe a tight end, guys, maybe. I don't know, unless you're looking at DK Metcalf as a tight end, because it looks like he can do it all. As we know, he's trying to go to the Olympics and run. He's actually going to compete, I believe, on the 9th. The 9th of this month, he's going to be in some trial runs or in some competition in the Open 100 and stuff. So, good luck to him. You want to be a 2-sport athlete? Hey, I love to see it. But now that we've come to the last team, I can give you my predictions for next season. The 2 teams that will be competing for the number 1 spot in the NFC West next season will be the Seattle Seahawks, yet again, and the Arizona Cardinals. They are going to move their way up. The team that will be fighting right behind them would be the Rams, followed by San Francisco, because there will be a little confusion on that end. Now, please note when I say that the lineup may look like that, this is going to be a close lineup, closer than it was this season with the top 3 going 12, 10, and 8. I'm talking about this going to be closer like the other competitive division in the AFC North where it went 12, 11, and 11. That's how close I'm talking, all right? But I think it's going to be great to watch. Those are the 2 divisions. If they're playing, you definitely want to be tuning in. All right. So, hey, that's the NFL draft, guys. AFC, NFC. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope I'll even upset you a little bit, because that just makes this a little bit more interesting, makes you want to listen to me more, and make us have a conversation. But you know what you can do with what your thoughts may be? Go ahead and leave a review. It's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all for tuning in. This is the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. All right. Please remember to subscribe, leave a review, tell me about myself, tell me what made you mad, tell me what you agree with. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GSMC_football. Thank you. Good night, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you, wherever you are. Have a good one, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.